day 721, we're showing with you how we're preparing for our podcast conversations. Now, I want to share with you, like today, I just met a great guy. I found him on LinkedIn originally, and I saw how people were engaging with Matt, specifically around asking about questions related to the new Senate bills in California. They're called the SBs and then a XXX number, right? Now, the interesting part about this is that in the past, I was never able to do this. In the past, I had to like do it all manually. But now, as you can see, like if I just post some of these questions, right? Like one, boom, I see Matt's questions like, hey, here's a little case law that you should be prepared about in terms of Sheets versus County of El Dorado. It affirmed that there must be a direct relationship between the impact fee and the adverse impact on the city or county. Now, in this case, the city must prove that the building will cause the adverse impact of increasing the need of affordable housing. Obviously, the need for affordable housing is in no way related to the construction of new housing units because it helps you with adding more supply to the market. Interesting, right? But these are the examples that I pull up. And then when you look at, okay, what's happening in the questions, right? What are people saying in the comments? And then you start looking at, okay, what a LinkedIn post that talks about this, right? So here's what I do now. Now I ask, now it's almost like you have someone doing all the research for you now. And because I'm assuming this is pure theory, Microsoft and ChatGPT and LinkedIn are all kind of under the same umbrella, well, they can probably be trained very well on auto LinkedIn posts, right? So this one we'll look into his public posts, and then they try to come on his podcast talk track, which is not what I was looking for. So what I like to do is like I try to use a very general prompt in the beginning, and then you slowly refine it, right? Now I'm trying to give it more context. Hey, I'm actually interviewing him as a guest. Can you come up with the top 10 questions I can ask him that he's most commonly asked about? Now here's how you add value to somebody, right? Experts get pinged for information all the time. Now, when they come onto the podcast and they do an interview with us on the Affordable Housing Podcast, what that allows them to do is now take the same podcast that I completed with them. And now they can take that podcast and essentially share that podcast with someone that's asking them, messaging them on LinkedIn for various questions. And now he can go tell that person to listen to that podcast first before they go to him for direct questions. Because now you can get and screen out all the tire kickers. You can create so much more time for yourself in your life and your business because you're not answering the same question over and over again because you have a podcast to share all this information that everyone's going to be asking you anyways. So when you ask ChatGPT to ask them, like, hey, what are the questions, right? Hey, what are the biggest pitfalls or misunderstandings developers have with A, trying to use SB as a 4? And then you have like a why, right? Great. But now I say, well, please give me a few bonus. And then I ask right here, okay, now give me a prioritized list based on audience interest, either in his comments or search about questions. So now I'm being more specific. Even when he makes posts in public about a certain perspective, right? Let me kind of show this one. What else are people asking? So, for example, in Matt's post right here, he says 1452 and 2200 are numbers that you want to decide that can help you decide how much housing you can actually build on a lot based on SB 684 and SB 1123. Great. That's how you determine the max allowable density. Okay, well, if you have that, what else are people asking? Not just in his post, but in general. And that's how I formulate some of the questions in a way that one, it's searchable, it's relevant, and you know people care about it. Because sometimes you can't assume that you know all the questions. So now people want to say, like, hey, for the 4 to 8 unit. So now I just want to say, hey, for a small 8 unit lot map, what are the three most common site plan mistakes? Great. Three most common site plan mistakes. That's something that someone can probably take. And look, we hear a lot of developers covering 1452. Boom. How does SB64 and long-term impact unit mix? Boom. And that's how you do it. Now, I share this with you because you no longer have an excuse. I would encourage you to start a podcast about any topic that you want specifically. If you were to start a podcast today, and I'm saying this out of love for everybody, right? I hope my kids learn one day that if they want to get into a field or an industry that I have nothing or no knowledge about, I'm not going to tell them to ask me for advice because I'm not qualified. I would tell them to say, hey, start a podcast, find people that are already doing the thing that you want to do. And the number one question people is like, well, how do I add value to someone that's so much further ahead? Well, start a podcast, help them come up with the content. And most importantly, now you're helping them come up with the 5, 10 questions that probably give them the most amount of time back, especially if you can share with them how if people reach out to them for questions again about information, they can now refer to this podcast that you just did with them. And now you position yourself as also being knowledgeable of that space, but also you bring value to your own audience, not just your guests. Because you only have two goals as a podcast guest. It's one, to thank the guests for coming onto your podcast and recognize them for taking all the time to share information with others to help others. And two, asking questions on behalf of the audience. Because in my honest opinion, no one cares about who you are. They really don't. They care about what you can do for them. And when you have that mindset, you will feel so much more relief. You won't feel that pressure to try to be the smartest one in the room because you don't need to be. And I never want to be the smartest person in the room, anyways. I really don't. That's how I keep learning. That's how you get around the right people. That's how you make the right connections. That's how you make the right friendships, most importantly. So I hope you take this live today and you understand that it's a lot less time consuming now. I used to spend like an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 3 hours on a podcast just prepping, researching a little bit, coming with the questions. But now I can have someone just research for me, write up all the questions. Obviously, I will edit it, but now I can prepare a 1 hour long conversation, 2 hour long conversation that might have taken me 2 hours, 3 hours a week in the past to prepare for one conversation. Now I can prepare for it in less than 15, 20 minutes. And I know that those quality questions are going to be impactful. They're going to be searched about because I get those questions from comments about different posts. This is why it's so important. All right, I hope this helpful, everybody. Again, this is so fun. I love the whole process of making a podcast. It's so fun, especially when you get messages that people appreciate it. Most importantly, I can't wait for this podcast. I'm going to film this one next weekend, I think. But hey, have an amazing Friday night. I hope you all spend some quality time with your family and friends today. I'm staying consistent. It's day 721 of going live, and we're going to keep this thing going.